Hey, everybody. Hello, hello. Welcome to our next edition of Scripting the Book. Today, we are going to be talking about The Color Purple, which is one I've been kind of looking forward to, also nervous about for quite a long time. So I'm glad we finally got to it. So I'm going to let my fabulous friends and co-hosts introduce themselves. We're going to start with Natalie and swing it on back around.
Been starting. I am Natalie Locke, co-author of the 1,000-word series, 1,000 Words to Get Started and 1,000 Words to Ignite Romance. The big selling point is stickers in the back. So totally worth it to spark the creative mind and getting a story down. Usually a flash fiction, meaning 1,000 words or less. But, if it grows into a bigger story, so be it, because the main thing is just getting used to not being afraid of a blank page. But yeah, welcome. And I will be actually after here, I'll have a live stream on my channel as a part of the Storyteller Hearths
Nice.
sprint weekend. So I plan to get some work done. But for now, we're going to talk about The Color Purple. Your turn, Ben.
Cool. And I am Ben Pick. You can find me every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Running2Write, where I normally give questionable writing advice through running metaphors, but I am now doing productivity sprints. So we can write stuff together on Monday nights. I do other stuff too, but sorry, I'm really distracted right now. I am currently getting bathroom work done 2 floors above me.
More power to you, man.
I
mean,
know,
I'm not
right?
doing the work. I can just sort of hear everything going on through it, and I'm getting pinged while we are...
And hello to Richard, our friend who comes and hangs out with us while we talk about these books. I'm Natalie the Vixen Fiction all over the internet, so you can follow me here on YouTube, also on Blue Sky and Instagram, and sometimes on Facebook. I also write things. I write short stories under NV James. So if you're interested in paranormal light fantasy, if that is your jam, come check it out. I'm ready to dive into this. So if you guys are ready, we're going to be talking about The Color Purple. Dun, dun, dun. We're going to start with the book. So this is a book by a novel by Alice Walker.
I will say for everybody, trigger warnings. We announced this last time, but if you haven't read the book, haven't seen the movies, there will be trigger warnings here of abuse, physical and sexual. But just want to get that out first in case anyone hasn't consumed these. Now, if you haven't consumed them and you're interested to understand how far, we can brush on that a little bit. But just want to make sure that everyone's protecting themselves appropriately.
Yes, and it is pretty much throughout. So this is not one of those books where you can be like, oh, I'm going to skip this little section. We'll discuss a little bit how Alice Walker handles this. But yeah, it's one of those books that this is pretty much weaved within the theme throughout. So there's not really going to be a way to avoid it if this is something that you are sensitive to. But let's go ahead and get into what we thought of the novel. This was written in 1982-83 by Alice Walker. Anybody a dislike? A neutral? A like? A love? I'm a like to love on this.
Yeah.
And literally the only thing that keeps it from being a love is that it's so heavy. I don't know how often I'd be able to reread it. But but it's so good that there are parts of it that I still think about like right now. Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense. So it's
I still think it's well done, and it's one of those things where it's like medicine, like a big horse pill medicine where it's difficult to swallow, but you need it. Like that society still needs this.
Yeah. So we're and Ben, what were your initial thoughts? And then we can dive into a little bit. We're gonna try not to spoil it for you, but guys, we will be talking spoilers later on when we get into comparing them. So if it seems a little vague, it's because we really want you to read it, and if you want to read it kind of fresh, this is definitely one where it's worth it to do that with. So we're gonna try not to spoil it for you, but we are gonna the themes of it are and what it's basically about are pretty obvious. So we will talk about that. So what are your thoughts, Ben? And your initial thoughts, and then we'll dive in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this is some extremely terrifying and terrible source material, but ultimately it is about a woman kind of learning to stand on her own 2 feet and believe in herself, which is incredible. I do think that there are aspects of the ending which move that backwards towards the end, but we can discuss that during spoilers. But aside from that, I mean, it is just harrowing. I know that this is not autobiographical; it's based on fictional. Like, it is a work of fiction, but it feels real.
I would call it historical fiction easily.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I would too.
I mean, I
Yeah.
could believe that this exact thing happened to somebody in the early to mid 1900s.
Yeah, that's exactly how it feels. And so this is told in it's an epistolary style. So we have Celie, and she's like, dear God. And so this is how the story is told in a series of kind of like prayers or thoughts or her just ramblings to God, and how the things about her life. And her voice is so freaking innocent. And the things that she's going through, you're like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah, in the first chapter.
The very first
Chapter what, like page 1.
Page
Yeah,
1.
and the
Jumps
fact
right
that
into it.
there's such heavy topics, but yet she's able to preserve her innocence. It
Yes.
is such skills on Alice Walker's writing and stuff, because you are looking through her filter, Celia's filter, and you understand why she believes the way she believes.
Yes. Also, hello, Eva came in. Yes, thank you. Yep. For everybody, if you missed the very beginning, yes, trigger warnings, trigger warnings. Thank you. Can I pin that from here? Ugh. All right. I'll have to go and while everybody's talking, I'll pin this. Because it's for anybody who comes in, especially as we start getting into spoilers.
Yeah. So Ben, you were saying Celia starting out, it's heavy.
Yeah.
And everything. And we were talking about innocence. So we'll talk about the ending later.
Yes.
For me, what I really liked about it was a lot of stories tend to have a one friend timeline, like one sidekick or whatever to the main character. And what I liked about this story is that Celia ended up having a bond, not just like an enemy frenemy thing, but actually a bond with multiple women. And I love that community and everything. And it wasn't always perfect. I mean, there was ups and downs.
It was a lot of unlikely friends, things that happen and you think, oh, that, like, if that had happened to me, I would cut that person off. I'd never be your friend again. Go ahead, Ben.
I was going to say one of her closest relationships starts off because she implies to somebody else to perform an act of DA.
Yeah.
And that leads to them bonding because she was jealous of the friend. And
yes.
Yeah. Like, I was surprised that they were able to work past that and such. And it's still interesting because they also what I liked, and actually now I'm just noticing a theme. So Celia's friends, every single one of them was strong mentally, and they held their own. And I feel like it took like all three of these different mental strengths for Celia to grow.
Yes. It starts out, she sees this first with her sister, and some of the things that Celia, even in her innocence, she wants to protect her sister. in such an innocent way, but her sister's a lot more bold with it. And I don't know if it's the young that her sister is the younger, Nettie, is seeing what's happening to Celie and being like, this is not right, and so she has Nettie has grown up seeing Celie being treated this way. And there's an understanding about how important education is and all of this stuff. And then you see this as Nettie is out, things happen, and so Nettie's out of Celie's life. Sophie comes into her life, and it's the same thing. Where Sophie's very strong, very strong, very opinionated. She's a great character. She doesn't take crap from anybody, to her detriment as well, but she's not going to take anything from anybody. And there's this sort of jealousy and just not understanding between the two of them at first, because Celie doesn't understand how she can be that way. And then nobody understands nobody in Celie's little household. They're like, why won't Sophie just submit? Basically, Sophie's not one to just submit. And so, I don't want to spoil it because I really want you to read it, and because it's
very worth it. It is a well thought out plot.
Yes. This whole scenario with Celie and Sophie is really worth reading. You do have to get past the DVDA situation of it all, to get to the root of it. Is this relationship that's going to be building between Sophie and Celie. And this also happens again with Shug, who is I guess it's the first love of her husband, Mr. And there's a lot of jealousies and things that happen. And with all of that, a friendship and more develops between Celie and Shug. So it's fascinating to see this
multifaceted, like, it's not just immediately we're friends. It is a roller coaster between each person while Celia is going through her life. And God, it's fascinating. It could be a psychological study in itself, by the way, because there is a psychology analysis that when we don't like somebody, it's because they embody something that we're trying to work on ourselves. So Celia having issues with Sophia, who is strong and won't submit, is something that Celia is struggling with. And and then Sophia probably having any issues with Celia on that would be Sophia knows her life would probably be not as difficult if she submitted, but at the same time it goes against her core.
Yeah. And I just love that despite who Shug should be to Celia, their not only their friendship, but the way that Celie sees Shug interfere for her benefit, and not understanding, like, what is she doing? Why she's doing? Sometimes she does things, and it seems like to Celie that she's doing this thing that's hurting my feelings, and it turns out she's doing something that ends up helping her tremendously. And she does this a couple of times. Probably more, just in the in little bits, but there's two significant things that that Shug does for Celie that radically change her life. One changes her day-to-day life, and one changes her outlook on, like, her whole future. And these are two women who should be opposed to each other, and they end up bonding incredibly. It's just, I can't say enough. I'm amazed, and I usually don't really care for epistolary style stories because I feel like you miss so much. But because of the way that she's telling the story, almost like she's just gossiping about the things that have happened today. She's like, God, let me talk to you about the thing that happened today. And so when other people retell her stories, she just retells that story. So I don't feel like we don't miss anything because of it. Where in sometimes with these types of stories, we can literally only get that person's POV and we don't really understand anything else that's going on. And the cool thing is that we're getting the other things that are going on through Celie's almost definitely innocent eyes early on, but still just a sweet way of seeing the world.
Like she's
Even as she gets older.
regurgitating what she sees and not processing the meaning or a connection behind
Yeah.
it. And whereas the reader, we go, oh,
Mhm.
that
There
I
are
see
so
it.
many times where we're like, "Oh, we know exactly what that is," and Celie's just talking about the thing that happened, and we're like, "You poor baby, all just, just let me just go get you and rescue you."
But
But you
yet
know,
she has so much intuition too, like when it came to her own children, that she was very intuitive of that.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm not giving too much away.
Yeah.
But she was very intuitive, and I thought that was like so raw. Like, I mean, something so basic that's always been there throughout history: motherhood.
Yes.
What makes a mom? So, yeah.
This was
The
just
book is great. The book is
yeah.
great. I did audiobook. I enjoyed it a lot.
Same.
And it is probably going to be one of these books that I'm actually going to make sure is on my shelf too.
Yes, I did that already. It's
You jumped ahead
very
of
good.
time.
And let me just so you can see, it's just all of them, just these little letters or notes. Where the first more than half, it's Dear God, and it's only like 300 and some pages. Yeah, just barely.
And
This
if you think
version
about
is
like
only
a
300
short
pages.
letter, and then there's all this space at the bottom of the page, but they're starting a new chapter, like it's actually pretty short.
Yeah, and this version's under 300 pages, so
Yeah.
very short, easy to read. I have tabs in here
Easy
already.
stopping points.
Yes. So even if like say one of the messages to God or letters to Celie is too hard, you can literally just read that little bit and take yourself a break to process, what just happened here, you know? So it is a very easy read. So even in this less than 300 pages, it's a fairly quick read. And listening to it also, because I always hybrid with mine, and so it was an easy listen, an easy read. I say easy. The subjects are not easy, guys. Not That's not what I mean. Just quick. It's quick and easy to digest. It's that easy in that way.
Yeah.
Right.
Any other
Any
thoughts
other?
before we move on?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Ben, we talked mostly. So Ben, you got any thoughts to add?
Nope. I mean, you're right. This was an easy read in itself, but it was extremely difficult content. And,
Mhm.
it's definitely not something you want to just sit down and like breeze right through. But yeah, it should be at least a part of everybody's reading repertoire where, maybe at a younger age, I don't think high schools would ever allow this to be read, but like college material, I could
Yeah.
see, an English class in college requiring it.
Yes. I could too. Okay. I really want to get into the spoilers of the book, so let's go ahead and get into the first movie. So we're gonna do The Color Purple from 1985. We're gonna do movie spoilers only for this movie only. So anybody a dislike, a neutral, a like, a love.
No.
I'm a high. I'm so close. Like it's there are parts of it that knock it down to a like, but it's so close to love for me that I'm just gonna put it solidly in a love.
Okay.
And I will say, we're not going to talk about the book. I'm glad I watched the movie first because I already had nostalgia on the movie and my thoughts on the movie and my feeling on the movie before I got all the information from the book that was not in the movie. So that's all only comparison that I'll make on that is that I'm personally I'm glad that I'd already seen the movie. But speaking of the movie, some I will say I enjoyed the acting. I enjoyed particularly Whoopi Goldberg in this because she seemed so freaking sweet and innocent and like you just want to rescue her.
It was
And I'm like,
amazing.
this is Whoopi Goldberg. She's just like you just want to like protect her. And
It
I'm like,
said
that
introducing Whoopi Goldberg, and it
yes.
throws me off because I mean I grew up on this woman. I remember her in
Star Trek Next Gen.
Jumping
Homing. It was
Jack
like
Flash.
Karina. The
Yes.
movie Bogus, where there's an imaginary friend. She's taking care of a kid. The God,
Was
there's
she
some
Sister Act?
huh? She was Sister
Yeah,
Act.
Sister
Yeah,
Act.
Sister Act
Sister
1 and
Act
2,
1, 2.
as well as in the
Star
movie.
Trek.
God, there were so many movies that
Jumping Jack Flash. There are so many.
the movie
Ghost.
Ed, where she was like a
Ghost.
female basketball teacher or coach.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yes, Ghost was incredible also.
Ghost. Oh
So,
my
yeah.
God, she's a
But
meme in Ghost.
I don't know that it was incredible. She as an adult, she was so childlike.
Yes.
Like just something in her eyes. I don't know. Was she acting with her eyes? What was that?
For me, I think it was a lot of covering her mouth, like,
Yes.
and
And, like
keeping the chin tucked and stuff, and like being very self-conscious and pulling into herself. Either way, it was fabulous skill and everything because I mean, we've seen her in all these other things that we know we're like shy. Like this is not her and stuff, but it's for that to be her introducing role, she killed it. Yeah. Absolutely. Like she is Celia. The only thing that bugs me, I will say this, the only thing that bugs me is that every single time, like the biggest comment was Celia's ugly. And I'm like, no, she's not.
What?
That was my biggest pet peeve.
It's like ugly where she's adorable. She's just
I was like, she is not ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it up. It's fine.
What were your thoughts on the movie then?
Oh yeah, I mean I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a start to some incredible careers. You know, you have I always screw this one up. Danny Glover. Yeah.
Yes.
Because I always think like Danny is a more immature name, so I always swap him and Donald Glover, but it's Danny Glover. He was fantastic in there. Oprah Winfrey. Yeah, I mean, just everyone.
How was he able to be cast in anything after this? Because he played that part almost too well that I could see him being typecasted forever. But of course he wasn't. But it was almost eerie knowing the type of actor he is and seeing him play something so vile.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the movie did a really good job with the levity, like because some of the subjects would be so heavy. Like the follow-up to so we're going movie spoilers. So there's a part in the movie where like I was still shocked when it happened, but Harpo was like, I don't know what to do with Sophie. I don't and Celie's like, okay, guys, trigger warnings. I have them pinned. Okay, so Celie says, beat her because that's all she knows. She's like, it always keeps me in check. I am not doing anything that I'm told not to do because I don't want to. I don't want to get hit. So that's all she knows. One, and we don't get the jealousy as strongly necessarily, but we kind of do. You get her saying, I don't understand why Sophie is the way she is. She doesn't understand her. And we get that. And so you get this really like shocking, because even I'm shocked. I'm like, she's so innocent. Why is she telling her to do this? And you know what I mean? But we get it because that's all she knows. But then right after this, you see Harpo's got his butt beat. because Sophie wasn't going to take. Sophie's like, excuse me,
That was hilarious.
excuse me, and he's like, I got kicked by a mule or a horse
Which
or something.
I feel bad because at the end of the day, I do believe that it doesn't matter which spouse is doing the hitting, it is bad.
It's still bad.
But for some reason that was very comical for me. I just it shouldn't be, because again, there's been so many studies of a woman like hitting her male spouse in public, no one does a thing, or a man just raising his hand in public and people are going, hey, you don't hit a woman. And I'm like, it should go both ways.
It absolutely should.
But yeah, in that situation, hilarious. And it was that levity that we were looking for that helps.
Yeah. Because it's not, it's because it's not funny in a sense that, oh yeah, she got him instead. It's more like she wasn't even thinking about, that wasn't on Sophie's radar, right? But you come at her and she's like, no, I don't care who you are. You're not gonna do that to me without getting it back at you. So it was in that sense that he thought wrong, you know. But then you learn that it ends up not working because now they're both in the cycle. They're now in the cycle, and it ends up breaking them up. And so it's unfortunate, but we do get that levity of him saying, I think I got kicked by the horse or the mule or whatever it was. And, you know, him trying to play it off because everybody's like, what happened to you? And he's got to, you know, he can't say, well, I tried it with Sophie and she let me know that she wasn't going to let that slide.
I love that for Sophie, but however, I also didn't like, I hated that, spoiler, her spirit was later broken.
Yeah.
I hated that for her. It just killed me and everything. And it,
it's one of the saddest parts in the movie. It's just because she was a fighter. She's like, I'm gonna stand up for myself. You see her time and time again. She stands up for herself. And then when she gets into the situation with the mayor's wife, it's like you see it coming and you're just like, no, this is not gonna go well. And for a second, you are like rooting for her because how dare you? Who do you?
How dare you
assume? But at the same time, you're like, please don't do it. But you know she's going to do it. You know if you hit her, she's going to hit you back, because she's not going to be bullied. But you know it can never end well because of the times we're talking. This was probably, I think the story starts in like 1914 or maybe 1920s. I forget exactly the year, but so we're talking. This is the 1930s. Or 40s by the time that this is so this could never go well for Sophie, to have a confrontation with the mayor and his wife.
I think the part that killed me the most, and it just shows how systemic the selfishness of white people in those times as a whole. Of course, we've always had people who were standing up for the injustice, but as a whole was the entire example where that where the woman's like, yeah, we'll go see your kids, no problem, and Sophia ends up getting only 15 minutes with them after it's been 7 years. And it's because the woman was like, I need you to drive me back. I don't know these people. I need you. And it was, and I understand where she was coming from. But at the same time, it was like, you were refusing to be uncomfortable, like, and thus putting your needs first.
And the fact that there were other solutions, but you know that you kind of know no matter what solution they come up with, let somebody else drive your car. I don't know who, it doesn't matter what the solution would have been. She would have had an excuse why no. Why for her,
and that was in the book too, by the way. I can't remember much differences between the book and the movie. If at most it would have been like a location change, but activity still occurred or something like that.
Yeah, just where in the story they happen, and there's just a lot more on the back end.
You gonna add something, Ben?
I was going to say, counterpoint to that, the ending to the movie is actually better than the book for one specific reason. Well, in my opinion, one specific reason. But we can go to that when we do comparisons.
Yeah.
Or
Okay. Well, let's talk really
Segue.
quick. Yeah, let's segue really quick into the
the 2023 version?
Yeah, let's go right into the 2023 version, and then we'll do full-on spoilers for everything, so we can really get into that change, because I gotta agree. So thoughts on The Color Purple, the 2023 movie, which was a musical style.
I actually loved it. Unlike last month, where we kind of brought Matilda the musical down a little bit, I feel like everything is perfect, like on the same level between the musical, the 1985 movie, and the book.
So you're a love on this one. Anybody a dislike? A neutral? And I'm definitely a like, closer to a love, just because it doesn't, because I love the other one so much that it never quite got there, but I love the singing. Because I knew
the score, the choices, like the like it's not, and when I say choices, I'm talking about when to go high note, when to go low, when the melodies with it and everything. Like these are songs that could stand on their own and be charting hits, in my opinion. It didn't feel like that Broadway musical, like, what is this feeling? You know, not to quote Wicked, but that has that very Broadway feel of where you're all of a sudden breaking the fourth wall and addressing the audience. And I'm like, can we get back to the story?
Yes, this one blended it. I felt like it was blended really well. And the vocals were great.
Yes. Great. Like I actually, I will say with the musical, I had this stronger belief of Suge's work and stuff, and I had a better understanding, whereas in the 85 version, I'm like, she just has charisma.
Yeah. I think that the musical did showcase Suge's actual career, that Suge is a superstar, basically.
Especially which I did enjoy that change where her plot point of going to church. And that's about as much I'll say on that. I kind of enjoyed that.
Yeah. And so Ben, you had the lowest, even though you're more like a neutral. What didn't do it for you?
So I agree that the music was fantastic in there. I feel like this version, it was as though somebody read the cliff notes of The Color Purple, the book, and then just used that as like a starting point. Like the story never felt like it worked for me, and there were scenes where it went right from an essay and a DA scene into a like cheery, happy-go-lucky musical, and that was some good whiplash there. And like the ending for the book was fantastic. The ending for the OG movie was fantastic. It was a little bit rushed, but it fixed one of the issues I had with the book, and so it still like felt earned. Whereas for the 2023 version, it felt like it just came out of nowhere, and like, here is your, happy ending and everything, but like it.
Why is that one person there?
Who are these people? Like we know who they like. If I hadn't read the book first, I would have no context for who these people are or why they're important. Sure, the fact that they're, in one sentence, like they are family, like that. That's basically just it. And so the emotional resonance wasn't there for the story that was shown in that version. And then also the happy ending. Are we talking spoilers or?
Let's go for it. We've got all three mediums out there now, so let's go for it.
So one of the key attributes of our main character is that she's a fantastic seamstress. Like that was built in throughout the book, and the OG movie didn't do the best job in handling it, but it still got to that point. Whereas in the 2023 version, it's just like, hey, by the way, like I'm fantastic and I can do all this stuff, and here are some magic pants, and like
Yeah.
it just didn't feel like I said with my Cliff Notes comment, like nothing in that movie felt earned. And when they had,
there should have been a Chekhov gun at the beginning
right,
and everything,
Mhm.
instead of like it was inside you all along.
exactly.
Yeah.
But all of like the emotional moments were undercut by immediately going into a song that didn't necessarily relate to it. Like if it were, going from a DA scene, and if it were like, oh, I'm like, this is horrible, what happened to me, but I'm going to be strong and I'm going to endure it, that would be one thing. But the music didn't align with the scene that happened immediately previously.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
though
can see
I will
that.
say in both movies, they did the camera wasn't on the action; it was like off to the side and
Yeah.
everything a little bit more, which kind of softens the severity of it.
You
Whereas in the
couldn't have
book,
in 85, you could not have shown that.
no,
Yeah.
you couldn't. It's just a bed frame hitting the wall. That's it.
Or quick
And
cutaways and somebody's, hit.
yeah, or things getting knocked off a desk as they are being thrown into it and stuff. I'm just paraphrasing this.
Mhm.
Not every single thing I'm saying is what's in there, but yeah, it was. But I will say in those situations, it kind of softens it, so it's not as gut wrenching. Because I've seen movies and shows where I had to walk away, like because I like to think of myself that where I don't need trigger warnings. But in those situations I did. And I didn't realize I needed them until I saw when the camera's on the action. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, this
Didn't
is
want to
hitting
see
hard.
that.
True, and I'm
Yeah.
not saying that the 2023 version needed that. I'm just saying they need to like acknowledge that things happened. It was just like it.
There's an emotional thing where
Yeah.
there's at least a shock value where at
Yes,
least create some silence before you go, okay, get it together and start
right.
singing happily.
And they did that in the 85 version of, this is something traumatic, and like let me react to it and build myself back up from there, or tear myself further down, but eventually build myself back up. And then the 2023 version kind of undercut all of those emotions with songs that didn't relate to the previous scenes. So
Did it feel like maybe they were trying to get to the music, and that maybe some of those little emotional beats were shortchanged a bit to get to it, to get it all in?
I don't honestly know. Like they both had about the same runtime, didn't they? But the musical felt so much longer.
Mm,
Let me figure this out.
Might be
yeah.
right.
As we all go to Mr. Google.
Yes. So the OG movie was 2 hours 30 minutes.
It didn't feel
And
that long.
no,
It
I
didn't.
mean it felt like a reasonable movie.
Though I did
Movie
have
length.
to I got interrupted, so I had to pause it and come back to it a few times, but, like, there was
Okay.
never a situation of,
Wow.
like, me forgetting where I left off or anything like that, so.
Yeah.
So the new one is actually 10 minutes shorter, and I honestly would have thought it was like 10 minutes longer at least.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
Yeah, and it felt about
Um
the same to me, and that's the only thing that I noticed. Like I said, and I think was it Fantasia? I think she did a great job
Mhm.
of playing Celie, so it wasn't that, but there were times where I felt like, there's that something emotional more happened with the OG movie than was happening now, not with the sisters. I think that when the sisters were younger, I think that was
Mhm.
they did a pretty good job
yeah.
there, and I think it might be because the other actress, oh, I forget her name. I know that she played the Little Mermaid, but she also has a innocence
Hmm.
about her, that lends to that kind of sweet innocentness of their youth. So I felt the emotional attachment between the sisters for sure. And then why her name slipped, Taraji, I totally she sold as her being Suge. She felt like a star. She felt like a star from a small town. Um, so I'm guessing that it just I don't know. I don't know why it just didn't hit quite as high for me as the OG movie did, and I don't know if that was the Whoopi Goldberg effect of her just her sweetness and watching her grow through the whole movie, and you could see it in the actresses, but I don't know what it was. But also Sophie, just Oprah's portrayal of Sophie during oh
Yes.
my gosh. It still makes me honestly, that still makes me sad. Like
the musical had a lot to live up to, and they did the best they could, and it's really hard when the bar is already set high. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's like, you're great, but you're not the best.
Yeah.
Everything type situation of they were great. I love the musical and everything, but it's not the best. And it's the situation of when you're in like getting all the 8 honor roll kids in one room and then trying to rack and stack them. That's what we're doing.
Yeah,
Everyone's
yeah.
making A's, okay? But it's when you're trying to pick the best, valedictorian, whatever, like it's a little bit more
There'd only
difficult.
be one.
Salutatorian is still just as good.
Oh, man. So, yeah, and speaking of the best, though, like, I still feel like overall the book was the best means, but I would still watch the '85 movie first. That way you don't, because I didn't know what I was missing
And
until I read the book.
easier. There's a lot of characters. I even got confused at times, and it's a little bit easier. Like I was like, there were certain times where I thought, I don't want to give away anything, but like how close the relationship Celia had with the one character, I thought she was having with others too. And I was like, oh no, that's 2 different people. Don't get them confused. Like this is a different relationship, type thing of how close. And not to mention the fact that each of our strong women, they all have their own stories of what they were going through over the same time period.
Yes.
And everything, which I love Nettie's storyline.
Oh my gosh.
Evolved.
The book did Nettie so well, and I
So
was like, why did we miss all the I wish I know it would have just been a longer movie. And we
yeah,
do get a lot of Africa, but there were questions that were answered by reading the book. Something that I was like, well, how did she know that that was the stepfather? And the book answers that. Where in the movies, you're kinda like, "I guess that's when she figured it out?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Did I miss that?" But it's very obvious in the book.
and
It's like,
and
"Oh,
even their
this
own
was the
parents
situation."
and
Mhm.
stuff and type thing. Like it makes sense. The one thing that I wish was explained, and maybe I just didn't catch it, is why did Mister keep the letters? Why did he not just burn all of them? That
Yeah.
is the one thing I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. And the only
Unless he was reading them too.
Maybe
well, some of them were open, some of them weren't. I do know that. But here's the thing. My only guess is that he kept that in his back pocket in case Celia decided to fight back or something, and hitting her didn't work anymore. That is my only
yeah.
guesstimation. And that's really just like grasping at straws and assuming of that's why he would keep them.
Yeah. For me, I didn't really understand why, except for maybe honestly, with the movie, I thought it was just extra cruel that she could be that close to him and not have him. Like, I don't know, something about no, see, I feel like burning would have been bad too because, like, I think of Little Women when Joe's book got burned and how infuriating that is. That almost makes that character almost unforgivable, even though they keep trying to redeem her. And you see that there is a redemption arc that I feel like maybe had burning those letters would have made it so that there's no redemption arc for this dude. I don't care. And he has a smaller redemption arc in the movies,
Barely.
but it's much bigger in the book, where
Yeah.
in the book they actually become friends to the point where he wants to rekindle the marriage.
Oh,
So how do you I was gonna say, how do you feel about that ending? Even getting to that point.
I like the OG movie ending.
Yeah.
I do believe in redemption, but I'm so mad at him that I'm glad he was just kind of in the field by himself. And
Mhm.
I really like in the movie that he does these things to, she puts the little hex on him. Like, everything you done to me is going to come back at you. I love that. And I love Harpo. Or no, I think it was his dad in the movie. It's different in the book, but in the book, I love Harpo gets this whole arc that leads to forgiveness with him and Sophie because of everything that his dad goes through. So it's not that I dislike the way that it's done in the book. I like that, but I also like in the movie that he's off by himself.
Yeah.
Like, he gets redeemed, but nobody really knows the things that he did. We only know that things are better for him. He went through some stuff. Things are better for him, but he's over there. But he does all these workings in the background to get Celie and Nettie back together.
Mhm.
But it's not like in your face. Nobody else knows. It's that it makes it feel more real. Like, he really changed because nobody else knows that he's done the nice thing, if that makes sense. It's different if everybody knows you're doing the nice thing. Nobody knows that he's made this turnaround, that I'm gonna pay for Celie to get her family back. I'm going to make sure that these things happen. Nobody knows necessarily that he's doing it, and then he's in the distance and working in his field, and he sees it happen, and that's satisfying enough for him to knowing I did the right thing, and now she's back with her family. You know.
Yeah. That
And it's not that it's bad in the book, because I do like in the book that he goes through this whole arc, but I'm also still kind of mad at him. You know what I mean?
The reason I like the movie, it's like he did so bad that yes, he's making it better, but he doesn't deserve that connection again.
Mhm.
He
That
shall always be on the sidelines. And I think that is stronger, because to me, him deserving a connection or trying to initiate a connection or and want more than just being on the sidelines puts him back in power, and I don't like that. Now,
yeah.
if Celia went back to him and it found out he did do this and she came to him and was like, and initiated a connection again, that's different. But him coming with the connection and like, you don't have power anymore. You don't even get to proposition anything.
Yeah.
Right. And that was the big thing that I liked that the movie did, is that, like you said in the book, like, they feel like just two old timers hanging out on a porch together, watching, relaxing and sharing each other's company. Like, that never felt genuine when I read it. And I felt like she, after everything she'd been through, no matter what, she should have just cut all ties, and that would have been a more resounding ending. And that's why I like that part of the movie much better.
Yeah. And I feel like in the book it's maybe I don't know. It's about the character. I get it's about the growth and all of that, and that these
And
things throughout their life affect everybody, and I get that it's probably true. Small town people, where that's the only these are the people that
right.
that there are probably people who have done horrible things to you, and then in the end y'all end up friends and talking about I that's probably true,
Mhm.
but I
There's
still prefer
truth
him to
in
be
that
off
with
to the side.
marriages.
True.
Yes,
I
yes.
mean, like, of they go to therapy together, they work on themselves and they get better. So it can be done, but in this time, this isn't therapy time. Like, you don't just magically get better on your own. I'm not to be a little pessimistic. I feel like help is
That's fair.
needed,
Yeah.
Yeah.
professional.
Yep.
And I do understand that one of the main thing, I mean, she starts off every chapter with, dear, or the first half at least, with dear God. So there is this theme of working towards forgiveness. I just felt like in the book, it didn't feel earned that they were ever going to come back to becoming even friends.
Yeah, it's like, do you remember what this man put you through? But,
Mhm.
you know,
And actually, they say psychologically, so let's say I had issues in my marriage. If all y'all heard was me complaining about my husband, that you would only see that. You wouldn't see the sweet moments and stuff like that, because I never voice them. And that's why for friends, it's an issue. And even for um readers and stuff, if we just see bad moments, we're like,
Mhm.
what's holding you on? The hope
Yeah.
of better, or is there actually a thread to pull on where there is a source of goodness in this person? And so when you're writing or reading or whatever, like, keep in mind the good stuff, and everything, as well as with your friends, because that is legit. Like, that happened with my mother, where she used to complain about my older sister all the time, and so all her coworkers thought my sister was a horrible child, and my mom realized, oh, I better also
Yeah.
talk about the good thing she is doing.
Yep. Exactly. So let's go ahead and get to it. What are so we have talked about some of the changes. Are any of these your best or worst changes? Because like for me, the ending with Mr. and his name is Albert, but that ending with Mr. I go back and forth because for me, it's like it's not about him, it's about how Celie feels. And if this makes Celie happy, then I am okay with the ending of the book. Still love the book, no, you know what I mean? But I prefer the ending in the movie where he's not with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I feel very conflicted about that. Worst change, I would probably say I really would have liked to get more on what was going on with Nettie in Africa. And I understand the movie was already 2 hours and 30 minutes, so probably not a great way to give us more on what was going on, but there's just like the explanation with the parents, a lot of that information comes through Nettie. And I feel like some of that was shortened or shortchanged or missed or glossed over.
Yeah, because I admit that one of the hardest parts I had was the fact that Celia had children so young, and where the plot point of who the father was, that was tough. But then to find out the full story of the Nettie and Celia's mother and what she went through, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not saying it's bad, it's good.
It's still bad, guys. It's still bad.
It's still bad. Like, but it is like, okay, this is I have a better understanding, and I feel a little bit better because I always think of biology and how we have too many similar DNA and stuff. How
it's the eye incest of it, guys, that we're trying to dance around.
It's a tough thing to read.
Yeah.
And then not to mention just the fact that the children were taken away. Like and that not knowing and stuff, like every parent can relate to that, because there was probably one point in a child's life where they're not answering their phone, so you're having a not knowing moment, and maybe just be a little bit or something, but we can at least relate to that a little bit. Or you're waiting for diagnosis. Like, both my kids were born with jaundice, so I'm in this like limbo land waiting. All right, do we do bilirubin lights? Is it that bad? And what things do I need to watch for? So I feel like a lot of parents can relate to that, not knowing if your child's going to be around. And so luckily none of us here have experienced that to Celia's extent of where she thought for years that maybe even her children were dead and stuff. But so I will say, I feel like to create the best movie possible with this story, I wish it was a combination of the musical and the 85 movie, and maybe even pieces of the book, because it includes more of Nettie's story. But I wanted, instead of us following just Cecilia, I want to know everyone's story. Like, I want the explanation of Celia's, Sophia Shug, and Nettie. Like, I want almost, oh my God, it's Little
You want a
Women.
TV series and not a movie.
Yeah.
I'm practically describing early 1900s Little Women from like released slaves' viewpoints and how they're handling it. That's what it is.
Yes. Oh, because one of the other changes that I'm trying to figure out how I feel about it, is the story with Sophie. So with Sophie, everything happens with the mayor's wife, basically. But
Yeah.
there's another story, another layer to the story, and it's that when she's living with the mayor's wife, she's taking care of the mayor's kids, not her own kids. And the mayor's daughter specifically loves Sophie. And
Which is a
so
plot point
yeah.
we've explored when we did The Help and everything. It's this
Mhm.
whole idea of you having your own children, but you're raising someone else's children, and those children see
Yep.
you more as a mother than their own.
Yeah. And you have the situation where Sophie is more indifferent to the child than I forget what the little girl's name is. But the mayor's daughter, she just thinks, oh well, Sophie must just love us, and so she's like has a situation where she's bringing her baby over, and the baby's just like messing up stuff. But Sophie can't see the baby the way that the mayor's daughter wants her to see her new baby, because she sees what he's going to grow up to be. He's going to grow up to be just like his dad, and just like her dad, who's the one who hit her and put her in the situation in the first place. So that's just Sophie's reality. But then there's another layer to it where you find out that when Sophie's daughter becomes ill, that daughter then helps her with it. So it's like it's learning it's just a whole nother layer, guys. It's in the book.
Yeah.
Read the book.
I
It's
need a
it's this more
4-hour
yeah,
movie apparently, or
yeah,
a series, like y'all said. Like that, I
yes.
feel like that is the only way that this story will be even more amazing than it already is.
Yeah, honestly, Sophie could have had her own story.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention
And
what happened to her in jail.
yes.
Like, I really kind of like, you broke this woman
Like she's about to die.
and
They're
everything. I
so
want to know what happened there. I want
And
to.
Squeak, what Squeak goes through. Squeak is this funny little character in the movie, but Squeak goes through
Am I
some
out?
things.
Okay. My entire screen just like loaded.
Yeah, I just saw a little.
Okay.
But you're here. You're here with us. You're here.
We're
with us.
all here.
We're all here.
Okay. Well,
But yeah,
that
so
sounds like we. Either way. Yeah.
yes.
I
Squeak is
want more storyline, and I feel like honestly the best way to do this, and best way to change it is like consume all three, and I feel like all three together give you this full picture. I will say the worst change, I'm gonna call the ending of the musical gave me the town of Whoville singing at the end of Christmas, that Christmas morning when all the presents are gone. That's what it gave, the vibes it gave me. I was like, why are we having this big like Who 4-8?
yeah.
Ben, I can actually hear the drills.
Yeah. That's
Ben's
2
like,
floors
wow.
above. So and we
Yeah.
got doors.
The fact that it's 2
closed
floors
in. Sorry.
above and it was that loud, that was
That's
amazing.
crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, at least you know the work is getting done.
That's right. You have any best or worst changes, or just changes that?
I mean, I said
that
I feel like I said everything. I like the movie, the OG movie's ending, because it does. Mr. gets his own version of a happy ending where his fields are no longer corrupted, and he undoes the hex by actually being somewhat of a decent person after years and years of being just awful. And that is his ending of like neutral almost, where you were a terrible person, you've gotten better to be a person, but you don't ride off into the sunset with whatever. And then Celia does get that textbook ending. She gets her sister back, her family, everything that she ever wanted. She is a successful businesswoman, and she is proud of who she is, and that was fantastic. And then the 2023 version, like you said, the ending just felt too saccharine. It was like we get almost no connection between her and her sister except for the very first scene in the movie, and then like a dance number midway through, and then it just felt like it came out of nowhere. Unless you read the book, in which case you know exactly what's happening anyways, and you can fill in the gaps that the 2023 movie didn't created.
Yeah. And I will say there is a musical part in the 2023 movie, or my gosh, in the 1985 movie that I thought I don't know why I thought that would make a pretty good musical. It's where they're at the juke joint, and then they're competing at the juke joint with the church, and the music is going on, and then everybody, literally it's like a musical, but it's in the OG movie, and everybody leaves the juke joint and they're dancing to go to church for this kind of confrontation. So I was like, that's kind of cool.
That is fair. You're right. I do remember that the 2023 version had a much more sincere ending with Suge's storyline between her father. So she actually reconciles in a meaningful way. Which was well earned. But like, I mean, that is tangential to the main story, and that is one of the few emotional moments that felt earned in the 2023 movie.
Yeah. All right, guys, what are our final thoughts on The Color Purple? My final thought is that definitely worth a watch and a read. I'm personally glad that I saw the movie first and then read the book, because I didn't know what I was missing from the movie, so I could just love it and not sweat it. And then I was like, wait, I could have had more. That's okay. I got it in the book. So those are my final thoughts. All the medians are worth it. Anybody else? Natalie, your final thoughts?
How to find the mute button. I think I've spoken up. I normally I give a choice between book versus film or whatever, and I'm just like, all three, because they're all going to give you something on the story, and I'm starved for the story.
Yeah. Wait for you. Ready, Ben? You give your
final
thoughts?
Sorry, we're about to turn the wire back on. So I read the book first. That filled in a lot of the gaps that the movie did include. So I definitely recommend read the book 100%. Watch the OG movie, definitely. And then I would say just pass the musical unless you really like musicals. I just felt like there was too much missing from that movie to make it an enjoyable sitting unless you've already seen the previous two works, the read the book or watch the movie, which again are like pinnacle of both storytelling and cinema. So those are, to put it crudely, those are top tier for both their mediums, and that is, I would say, the best way of experiencing Color Purple. If you want more of Color Purple, then feel free to watch the newer version, but know that it is kind of watered down.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, guys, this is what we have coming up. March 30th, we are going to be doing Wicked. Looks like we have at least one guest. We'll see if we can get two guests on.
Wicked will be out on 21 March on Hulu.
Oh, cool.
I can't remember.
Is it Hulu or Prime? I think I saw it on Prime, but it might be Hulu.
I just remember 21 March, and I was like, okay, I'm locked on that.
Yes. It was like, watch immediately, which I know we're going to watch immediately because my daughter's already been like, when is it coming? So you guys, if you haven't got to go to the theaters to see it, then it will be coming out a week before we do our show. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting. I'm trying to get some people on who have actually seen the play. So have either of you guys seen the play?
Nope.
Yeah.
I've seen clips of it. And
Same. Like, I feel like I know what's happening.
But I was not in the audience or anything for it.
Yeah, I know the music. I'm ready. So that is what we have coming up, guys. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Let you guys give your outros. Ben, do you want to start since you're already unmuted?
Sure. Yeah, like I said, I'm Ben Pick, Running to Write. Come hang out with me tomorrow night, every Monday, or specifically tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern time, and we can write together.
Nice.
Or do whatever you want to be productive at the same time. Cooking,
Yes.
whatever. I don't
That's
care.
what I like
Just come
about
hang out.
sprints.
Yeah, same.
Sprints
Same.
are a time to do the one thing you've been setting off where you're like, it's 20 minutes. I can do this for 20 minutes and be done.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I'm Natalie Locke. I will actually be on my YouTube channel for some sprints today at 3 p.m. Eastern, part of Storyteller's Hearth weekend. I'm the last sprint. And then, just stay tuned for any flash fiction stuff coming up, which is usually a monthly thing that we do on between my channel and Chandra's channel, my co-author.
Yes. And you can catch me Tuesday. No, not this Tuesday. I'm off this Tuesday, but normally I do Night Write. Same thing. We love the sprints, guys. It's a way to have time to chat with everybody in the community and get things done. Whatever it is you want, whether you're reading, writing, got chores to do around the house, whatever it is that you got to do. Sprints are great for that. And then you come back at the end of the sprint, chat with everybody. It's great time. So I'm normally doing that on Tuesday nights here for Tuesday Night Write, and also on Twitch on Mondays and Fridays. So you can catch me there. Yeah, I think I'm still on tomorrow. So middle of the day. I never lock down a time. It's as soon as I get into the office is when those sprints starts. But it's usually sometime in the middle of the day. Yeah, so that is us. We'll be back next month for Wicked. I'm super excited. Like, I feel like we've been reading some really great books and watching some cool stuff. So I'm very excited. And we will see you guys next month. That's all we got. I'm going to media assets so I can get an outro. All right, bye guys.